speaker, Dr. K and Geetha Madam. She has more than 18 years of professional experience with multidisciplinary approach in natural resource management, focusing on urban waste water utilization, salinity stress, climate change mitigation, and nano-green technology and weed science. Presently, ma'am is holding a position professor and scheme head at AICRP Weed Management, UAS GKVK Bangalore. Madam earned her PhD degree from University of Sydney, Australia, and followed by her postdoctorate research she has completed from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, under climate change and degraded land management under Ford Foundation project. And in 2003 to 2006, she was awarded with DST was a fellowship for the developing salt tolerant transgenic finger millet line. Dr. Geetha Madam has significant contribution to sunflower production technologies, having more than 4 packages of practices as a principal investigator and more than 5 as a co-PI. She has done more than 300 frontline demonstration, and under her leadership, she received Best Center Award from the Indian Institute of Oil Research, Hyderabad. And she is working on the organic weed management and conservation agriculture, addressing climate change impact on weed. She has developed 3 weed management packages as a PI, and again under her leadership, center received the Best Coordinating Center Award. And she is also involved in ongoing Indo-Western Sydney University collaboration on wastewater reuse. She has guided more than 12 masters and 3 PhD scholars, and she has handled more than 10 projects as the PI and co-PI. So, ma'am, today is going to deliver on the talk Smart Weed Management in Millet Crops. So now, ma'am, you can start your talk. Geetha, ma'am?
Yes, I'm sharing on. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon to everyone, and then I welcome all for this today's afternoon presentation. Actually, I'm already running half an hour late, and then I'm not sure, I don't know how much I have to cover. But anyway, what's the time limit for me now? Because I'm starting half an hour late.
Ma'am, you can try to complete at 4:10.
4:10. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, today the topic is on I'm going to present smart weed management on millets crops. So this is my all-time favorite slide actually. So this one is like emerging challenges and then existing challenges. So you all know this population, food system, nutrition health, and then ecosystem, land resource, and then food system. And recently we are hearing more about international trade actually. So this is something to do with like food security or production, food production in India, and then also like water and energy, and then climate and water are actually like you are having a more on this climate change, the impact of climate change on water as well as on the environment. So if you see the water, food security, so yeah, sorry. So global food security index, like if you take 2022, actually India stands in affordability 80th ranking, and then availability of food is 42, and then the quality of and safety, it is a 67th rank, and then come to sustainability index, so it's just 51.2. So if you see the food security index for 2022, because I couldn't get for 2023 and 2024, so that much of Asia, Africa and South America are at risk, and then emerging economies are at medium to high risk. And then coming to the food safety, so index. So if you see the food safety index, that Kerala is having highest percentage compared to Karnataka. Is half of the Kerala we are having the, when it comes to food safety index. Food security is different from food safety index. The quality of the food, what we are getting is better in Kerala compared to Karnataka or any other places. So second is like Tamil Nadu. Quality is also important because we are going to deal with millets. And then the food security and nutritional security is actually a major concern and challenge. So we have to have enough food for the food security. So what is then the food security? Means enough and nutritious food that is comes from consumed accessible in order to sustain an active and healthy lifestyle. So that is the food security. So in order to sustain an active and healthy lifestyle for the growing population, like India, like not only in India, it's if you take the world population by 2050, it's going to be 9 billion. And the current crop production levels are not adequate to feed the projected population. So we need to have a better option. So what is the option available for the production? So especially in agricultural production system, in which weed management is a critical component, and also advancements in weed management technology have also had the huge impact on the agricultural productivity. But even then, we are having a lot of constraints or the challenges we are facing when it comes to the weed management or food production, like increase in herbicide resistance and also lack of new mode of actions threatens to make almost all existing herbicides unusable by 2050. So integrating, what we have to do is now clubbing, or we have to integrate old systems or traditional systems with the new or advanced weed management technologies into more diverse weed management systems. So if you take the global scenario of millets, so we are having, in a sense, Asia and Africa, if you take together, it's about 95.35% of the millets are produced and consumed by developing countries, especially in Africa and Asia. And if you take the millets growing areas in India, especially Karnataka and then Tamil Nadu is also having a more area under millets compared to any other states. And if you take the area and production, if you take the 23 and 24 area and production of finger millet, it's all of a sudden rise in the area as well as in the production. If you see the previous year data, like for area production and productivity of India 20 to 23, during that time, the pearl millet was having a higher area and then production, but all of a sudden a spike in the area in finger millet and production because of the MSP, the maximum support price given to farmers. This is the reason nowadays people, in the sense farmers, are not ready to take the any FLD's frontline demonstration on millets other than finger millet in Karnataka. And also Karnataka plans to double its millets export, that is building on international trade fair. So they also have organized the millets and organics international trade fair during January 5th to 7th, 2024. So this is the doubling of millets export idea of. And then what are millets? Millets. What are millets? Millets are small seeded annual grasses that are grown as grain crops. And also that millet originated from the French word mille, that is meaning thousands. So it's also actually it's originated from Africa and India. So they played a crucial role in human civilization as a staple food source. So millets are termed as yesterday's coarse grains and today's nutri-cereals and future crops. Millets are also called as miracle or smart crops because good for consumer, it's also good for the planet and also good for the farmer. So farmer means it's having a multiple uses like fodder, food, fuel, that is 3 Fs, and are typically the last crop standing in times of drought. So, and also helps to overcome vitamin and minerals deficiencies. Nowadays, people are using more of millets for their growth, in the sense diet. Good for planet. It's a good for planet means it's a climate resilient crop. Water use efficiency is more, can be grown on low fertile. This is the example of Karnataka's recent success stories wherein they have actually grown in all these millets on a degraded soils. Maybe later part of this I will be showing that. And then what are the triads which make this millets as a climate resilient? So it can adapt to the wide range of ecological conditions. It's having a very short duration from 60 to 80 days. And then less irrigation requirement, in the sense water efficient, and then the water, it's having a higher water productivity, and then better growth and productivity in low nutrient input conditions, and also less reliance on synthetic fertilizers. Actually, farmers, all these years, farmers were not using any fertilizers. Nowadays, because of the recommendation from the university, recently they have released the technology for fertilizer management in millets. So they are using actually very recently, in the sense they started using these fertilizers. Then minimum vulnerability to environmental stresses. So they can withstand any hardship, like maybe increase in the temperature, or if the moisture level is low, and also they are photoinsensitive, and then millets are future grains. So if you see the scenario of water stress by 2050, so India will be having extremely high water stress for the human water demand, that is more than 80%. And also the water withdrawals are predicted to increase by 50% by 2050 in developing countries. Millets can grow easily in dry climate and have a smaller harvesting period. And what is the climate change impact on this millets? When it comes to South Asia, and then the future climate shift, they can see the climate change percentage change in yields between percent and by 2050. So there will be a decrease in the yields. So there will be depression in the yields by more than 18% due to change in the temperature. That is a future climate. That is when you see the colder to the future climate, is current climate is almost average temperature, and then when the temperature rises maybe towards 2.8 degrees Celsius by 2100, so we can expect the extreme hot weather. And this is a pearl millet, wherein we can see the rise in baking temperature is from 30 to 50 degrees Celsius, wherein all other crops like maize, rice, and wheat can have a temperature tolerance or resist like 30, 32. But this pearl millet can resist up to 42 degrees Celsius. And also it's with a 2 degrees centigrade rise in temperature by 2040, this is a prediction. So there will be a reduction in 5 to 22% reduction in crop yield in Africa. And then it also extremely summer condition in 45% of the Africa. And also these, especially pearl millet is having a high in iron, zinc, and folate, grows with very little water, less than 250 mm. And similarly, we can, I think we all heard about the water guzzlers and then water conservers. These millets comes under water conservers. So wherein they are using from 300 to 300 days for pulses. And then when you see the water requirement for bajra and ragi, so this is 350 almost. And then it's very less compared to rice or sugar cane. So to produce 1 kg of rice, actually the water requirement is 5 liters of water. To produce 1 kg of millets, hardly it takes 250 to 300 liters. So millets are capable of growing under drought, as they approved already. And then they are having a low carbon and water footprint. So this is very, very important with this climate change atmosphere. And then pearl millet is a low water consuming and also requires less water. Similarly, pearl millet and finger millet can perform well under 28% of the rainfall needs of the crop. And then if you take the footprint, I've already explained you, and then the carbon equivalent emissions, millet and sorghum is having a lesser carbon equivalent emission, that is kg carbon per hectare, that is 878 and then 916. So that means millets can grow with minimal fertilizers and fertilizer. That's how they are going to have a lesser carbon equivalent emissions. So millets have a low water footprint. You all know, like they can survive with 300 to 350. And also the duration of these millets are very less. Because of that, they can complete their life cycle with a lesser water and then less fertilizer. And coming to the classification of millets, that is major millets, that is under major millets, sorghum, fir millet and finger millet. Coming to the minor millets, we'll be having proso millet, little millet, barnyard millet, kodo millet and brown top millet, and then foxtail millet. So we are having so many, in the sense, 6 millets under minor and 3 millets under major. But having known for their climate resilient, but still they are having some constraints pertaining to production. So what are all the production constraints? And then apart from production constraints, they will be having inadequate access and then post-harvest constraints and also inadequate attractive products and also inadequate awareness. So when it comes to production constraints, so the yield gaps at the farmers level, we can see all this. It's there everywhere. You can read that kind of a things, but I'm concentrating in the sense intercultivation and weeding are done untimely, and also broadcasting method of sowing impeds farm operations like weeding and other intercultural operations. So that weeding part, in the sense, it's a major constraint in millet production. And then see why that kind of a constraint, because of the impact of high weed pressure. We can see here, so they compete for crops, for nutrients, water, light, and then reduce, because of that, reduces yields and then the lower crop quality, and also its arbor insects and diseases, increases irrigation costs, and but complete elimination of weeds is unnecessary or not necessary, because complete elimination is not required. Once the threshold level is, in the sense, we have the crop weed competition period, during that time, after that time, if the weeds is there also, I don't think they are going to have an impact on yield. So actually crop yield is inversely proportional to the weed dry weight and also weed number. But in case of weed number, we cannot, in a sense, this is not a good triad to say because of numbers, but with the weed dry weight, we can say it's a good triad. Why means it's you see the curve here. In the numbers, if the numbers are more, means if they don't have any biomass produced, in the sense enough biomass produced during the initial stage, then they are not going to have any impact on the yield. So when the biomass is produced, used biomass is produced and the numbers is less, then they can have a huge impact on the crop yield. That is the reason one has to go for the weed dry weight instead of going for weed numbers. And why the yield reduction in millets due to weeds means, because of the reduction in yield is due to competition for nutrients, water, sunlight, and space, resulting in significant soil nutrient loss and crop yield reduction. So because of the competition, we can see the reduction in grain yield percentage. It varies from 15 to 90%. So there will be a lot of yield reduction, yield loss with the crops due to weeds. And then coming to the critical period of wheat competition, I think we all heard about this. This is the period wherein one has to provide the better congenial, in the sense, better atmosphere to the crops. During that period, that initial stage is very, very crucial, that from 15 to 42 days, especially for these millets, that's the crop wheat competition. That means during this time, you can give the better atmosphere to have a better growth. So that means you can minimize the crop losses. Weeds must be eliminated during this period. So millets is typically having, I have already told you that 15 to 42 days of crop weed competition period. And then what are all the major weed flora encountered in in millets and in Karnataka? These are the different weed species, major weed species in different millets. And coming to the Karnataka, that's in Karnataka, we have the grasses like Cynodon dactyla, Chloris barbata, Dactyl actinum egyptium, and then Illucina indica. Coming to the sedges, Cypress rotundus, Cypress esculentus. Coming to the broadleaf weeds, Camelina bengalensis, Cinabria demina, and then Euphorbia eta, Cinderella nodiflora, and then Varuria articularis, Celosia argentea, and then Aziratum panzidus. These are the major weeds seen in our field. And these are the pictures, in the sense major weed flora in photographs from our millet plots. That is Digitaria sanguinalis, Illucina indica, Echinoclova colana, Sorghum elephantha, Sataria gluca, Cynodon dactylum, Panicum rapens, Urograstis filosa, Cypress rotundus, Cypress deformis. And then coming to the broadweed weeds, that is Amaranthus viridis, Euphorbia geniculata, Bidens filosa, Striga asiatica, Convalensis arvensis, Varuvia diffusa, and then Gomphrena serrata, Siddha acuta, Acanthospermum hispidum, and then Aziratum consides. All these like Camelina bengalensis, Clioma viscosa. So all these kind of weeds were seen in a millet field. And then after having all this, in a sense, knowing the importance of millets, that we have conducted several experiments on millets to tackle these weed problems. So we had different trials under different herbicides. So these herbicides, like for example, pyrosulfuron ethyl, 2,4-D sodium salt, and then metsulfuron methyl plus chlorimiran ethyl. And then when it comes to kodo millet, again 2,4-D sodium salt. These are all, in a sense, millets are having a better, in the sense, better efficiency of herbicides with this herbicide efficiency was better with 2,4-D metsulfuron methyl plus chlorimiran ethyl compared to any other herbicides used. So these are the photographs from our experimental plots. You see here that atrazine 500 gram per hectare as the PE, followed by 2,4-D sodium salt, and then pyrosulfuron ethyl 15 grams per hectare, and then 2 hand weeding, pyrosulfuron ethyl 15 gram per hectare as the free emergence, followed by metsulfuron methyl plus chlorimiran ethyl 4 gram per hectare as POE. So what we can understand from this is it's 2 hand weeding at 20 and 40 days is equally comparable with any of these chemicals used in the experiment. And actually with atrazine, initially we could see the delayed germination. Later, actually germination, in the sense after 10 days, we could see the germination, because this was coupled with heavy rain. And also the soil types matters, and also moisture level matters when you use these herbicides. And coming to the first emergent herbicides, we tried, in the sense, in kodo millet. In that, applying metsulfuron methyl, again, this metsulfuron ethyl plus chlorimiran ethyl is having a better efficiency on these millets, on the weeds of this kodo millet. And also, based on the experiment, we have also confirmed the same herbicides on foxtail millet also. So post emergent herbicide in foxtail millet, like the same herbicide, that is metsulfuron plus chlorimiran, so 2,4-D again. So same herbicides are doing better with kodo millet as well as with the foxtail millet also as a post emergent herbicide. And coming to the pre-emergence, that is also we have tried this pre-emergence herbicide application of bensulfuron methyl plus pyrrolidochlor at both the dosages, in the sense 165 grams per hectare and 330 grams per hectare, also recommended for controlling weeds effectively in kodo millet as pre-emergence. We have tried both pre-emergence as well as post-emergence in kodo millet as well as in foxtail millet. And apart from our group, and also from different ACRP management center from India, they have also tried several other herbicides on different millets, sorghum, maybe pearl millet, and transplanted finger millet, common buckwheat, and Tartary buckwheat. So they also have got these recommendations for different millets from different centers of ACRP on weed management. And similarly, what we did, so we did initially we have screened the herbicides, and then later we thought that let us do for non-chemical methods of weed management. For that also we have screened. So non-chemical method is better. What we felt is better than the herbicidal, because most of the time there were some toxicity from different centers we could observe. And then when it comes to non-chemical methods of weed management, that intercultivation at 25 days after sowing plus one hand weeding at 45 days after sowing, and stale seedbed technique plus intercultivation at 25 days and 45 days after sowing, and then two hand weeding, and then two mechanical weeding at 20 and 40 days after sowing. But this is in the sense during labor scarcity, and nowadays it's difficult to get any labor. During that time, one has to go for stale seedbed or intercultivation or any type of cycle weeder instead of going for hand weeding. And similarly, we also conducted the experiment non-chemical methods of weed management in foxtail millet. There also we got like intercultivation at 25 days and one hand weeding at 45 days. And then because the duration of these millets are very less, so it's better to manage like with organic in the sense non-chemical way rather chemical method of weed management. And this recommendation was also in the sense initially we have done this like a stale seedbed technique plus intercultivation at 25 days and then 45 days and again intercultivation at 25 days plus one hand weeding at 45 days after sowing. So these are the non-chemical methods very well working with these millets, in the sense kodo millet and foxtail millet. So after doing screening with herbicides and then doing non-chemical methods of weed management in millets, we have actually worked out the low-cost weed management, in the sense we worked out the cost involved in weed management. So according to this, like herbicide spraying in kodo millet and foxtail millet is better than any other method of non-chemical methods. So, but still we can have a say that like for just sacrificing 1,000 or 2,000, they can compensate with the yield. So I feel it's better to go with the organic weed management rather going with the herbicidal. But feedback from the farmers is different, totally different. Like we had the feedbacks from the farmer. They are very happy to use herbicide to sustain their farming activities because they think it's easiest way for them, and then also usage of herbicide is profitable for them. When we calculate that, they thinking that it's better than the non-chemical method, and also the labor scarcity. So to solve those problems, they just wanted to go for this. But even then, we suggest for millets being a short duration crops, is better to manage with the available good weed management practices. And then we are all having, in the sense, emerging challenges in weed management. So many challenges. Resistance in weeds, and then herbicide residue as introduction of herbicide tolerant crops, and then may lead to development of super weeds, and then climate change effect on weed growth. So nowadays it's because of the climate change we can see a lot of C4 weeds than C3 weeds. And also in one of our project we could see that herbicidal dosage should be increased. Instead of the whatever we recommend now, it's double the dose is working. And then aquatic weed management breaking. Out of all this, weed management in organic farming is also a challenge. And then what is the relevance of this smart weed management research? So actually, initially during 2007 and all, we used to call GAP, that is good agricultural practices, and then later turn into precision agricultural practices, and now it's like a smart weed management practices. So with the terminology is just changing, that is good G and then the P, yes. So like that, we are just changing the terminologies. Then the relevance of the smart weed management research is because of the decreasing sustainability in food grain production and productivity. So we also having an increasing negative impact on environment. As for the sprays, we say old is gold. So millets we never used to bother about the millets. Nowadays, because of the revival of these millets in Dharwad, especially for the farmers, 3,000 farmers have grown their, in a sense, grown millets in degraded soil of 2,000 acres. So, and then what got lost, it's the traditional knowledge on millets. So we need to have the traditional knowledge of millets and also this gradually gaining popularity. So then what is then importance of smart weed management? What does it do? This smart weed management is to a reduction of inputs without decreasing weed control effectiveness, and in turn reduces the accumulation of herbicide residues in soil, water, and environment, and also delays or even possibly eliminates the evolution of herbicide resistant weed species, and also reduces the or avoid herbicide toxicity on crops. Then what really is smart weed management? Actually, day before yesterday, one question was like, how, in the sense, smart weed management means what? And then what do we really want to call? What is the smart weed management? How these Indians can take advantage of it? So not only at research scale, but at farm scale. So according to FAO 2009 report, grain yield increases will not come from developed world with large farms. So that was the slogan during 2009. But in small farms, each square is a farm. You see here, each square is a farm. So how to manage this? So is smart weed management meant for only for developed farm world with large farms on fields, or only for farmers that having resources like boom sprayer or GPS or autopilot systems or complex technology or spatial modeling? No, we need to have a change. We need to have a change in the practices. Actually, during 1990s, we had all this like deep flowing and then using bullock paste for intercultivation and all. After that, what happened because of the introduction of all these varieties and then the uh, sprayers and also the rotavator. So rotavator is the main culprit I feel for wherever the Cyanide dactyl is there, and also wild garlic. So if people are using that, people are becoming lazy in the sense it's very difficult to manage weeds because they are not preparing the land properly, and then in the sense previous day of the sowing they will go and then just they will past one or two flowings and then straight away they will take up the sowing. Instead of going for leveling or removing weeds, they will just go for rotavator so that they can level easily and then they can take up the sowing. So it's better to stop that kind of leveling implements wherever the species like grassy species are there. So we need to have a change from 90s to 2015. So during 50 to 2015, we used to have all this. It's a cycle weeder and then wheel weeder. So it's a woman-friendly equipment. And then we cycle weeder and also mulching. So all these were there during 2015. But what happened? So we are not we are not practicing the deep flowing or any other line sowing, and then they are broadcasting nowadays. People are, in a sense, they say it's line sowing mistakes, lot of labels. So they are just broadcasting. That is also one of the reason. why weeds are more, and also shallow flowing, and then using combined seed harvester. All these things are adding to the more of weeds. And then 2025, like in now what we have to do under the title of that smart weed management, we need to insist the farmers to go for summer weeding and also line sowing, and then they can go for cycle weeder, and these robots and all things, they can add to it to increase. But when it comes to each farm is a square, then that time they cannot go for that kind of a yeah, millets are grown in a larger area, they can go with this kind of implements. But in Karnataka, they have used this drone for ragi, millet ragi, but there they have used it for fertilizers like 19 hull, and then urea spray, and also for fungicides, not for herbicides, because we don't have any permission to use the herbicides for millets here. And this is the change one has to have the to avoid the herbicide resistance, and also to have the sustainability in production. So, and also the smart weed management is about the 6 R's. 6 R's means use of right input. That is when it comes to herbicide, that nano herbicide or bioherbicide or any other input. Then coming to the right time, that is whether it's a pre-planting, pre-emergence, early post-emergence, and post-emergence. And also coming to the right amount, that is concentration and dosage, makes a lot of difference. And then the right places, whether this should be sprayed on soil or on weeds or in the furrows. So right manner means individual plant spraying or spot spraying, or using wood or furrow application, or irrigation through irrigation water, that is nothing but irrigation. So this kind of R's, that is 6 R's, are very, very important for the management of spatial and temporal variability in agricultural production systems. So there is no set of universal weed management practices or site specific and crop specific. So these kinds of practices vary from region to the next, and one farm to another, depending on soils, climatic conditions, crop and cropping history. So, and also the management expertise. So how do we deliver these R's, whether like using boom sprayer or larger equipments, or through like furrows? These are the different management advances one can introduce into their weed management practices. Maybe stair seed bed, or applying to the fertilizer, and then FIM applying to the furrows, and then they using the wheel weeder. And then first and foremost thing is one has to go for line sowing, and then the using hand implements, and also here also, and then power operated implements, and small things like that. So even though our farm is smaller, so we can go with the small implements to have a precision in our weed management, or to say that smart weed management can have all these combinations. And then smart weed management can have this, in the sense that's the change what I was telling about. We need to have a changes instead of having just herbicide itself. So one has to go for combination of cultural, physical, biological, chemical, and then sometimes if the area is large, they can go for smart equipments or smart tools like drone spraying. And there is a place for smart weed management in India. Definitely there will be a place for India. So when we need to focus on 6 R's to manage spatial and temporal variability, and also challenge lies in creating environment. So if you use of smart weed management practices is treated as complementary approach. So we must become the change we want to see. That was the slogan by Mahatma Gandhi ji. So that's how we need to change our management practices. And what is the roadmap? So we need to accept and adopt whatever is available already, good weed management practices, And also we need to correct inherent soil limitations, maybe by stale seed methods or deflowing or else summer flowing, and then monitor weed population and earnest positive trend. We need to monitor from the beginning, from the initial stage. So we need to up to that the crop yield competition, especially in millets, from 15 to 42 days. So that is the crucial period. One has to monitor the weed population, and then by providing adequate weed management through integrated weed management, and also we can monitor crop growth and crop needs through site specific weed management. And then we can access the and also we can assess the cost of good weed management practices, like how we have assessed the weed management practices cost for chemical as well as for the non-chemical method of weed management, so to get the economic gain. So we have to have all this for to have aim for long-term sustainability. So that is the roadmap one has to follow. And then what is smart weed management in millets? That's the concept of smart weed management. That is like approaches combines like preventive, cultural, mechanical, whatever is available, good management, weed management practices, we need to combine in an integrated weed management framework. So under the umbrella of integrated weed management, we have to combine all these methods and also smart solutions such as drones for spraying. So, and also the sustainable practices like mulching and intercropping are also promoted for millets. So this is the kind of thing, so like in a sense, if you follow, then there'll be a smart weed management in millets. So this is not the smart technologies. This is a way of practicing weed management smartly. And then smart weed management in millets is equal to like integrated weed management plus modern precision tools. So, so herbicides are most effective in millets when combined with one hand weeding. So smart weed management means use should encompass agriculture. And this is the figure you can see. So this is the smart weed management. We have even smart and precision tools, biological, biomulching, and then herbicide spray, and then chemical method. So while using herbicides in smart weed management, one has to be cautious, and then judiciously they should use minimum application of these herbicides is always allowed under smart weed management. And then mulching, and then preventive measures. We all know preventive weeds are great travelers. So we need to prevent these weed seeds traveling from one place to another. And also line sowing is very, very crucial. And woman-friendly equipment like tools. So this is this chart. You can see the advantages as well as the different practices followed under different. This all together will have a outcome. So like weed-free crop, that is 15 to 42 days critical, and then higher yield, and then reduced cost and labor, sustainable production. So with, in the sense, we have all the combinations like preventive, cultural, then mechanical, chemical, biological, and then smart precision tools. So we may use this chemical or may not. So if you take care of all these practices in one, in a sense, in millets field, so one can achieve this sustainability for a longer period. So use of herbicides, safe use of herbicides, like they have to have the lesser quantity, and then with respect to different millets, they can have a different herbicides. If it is needed, really it's needed, then only they can go for these herbicides. Otherwise, there is no point in using herbicides in millets because of the short duration. And then integrated weed management. Also, we can see actually in previous speaker was telling integrated means just using one chemical, and the other one is just followed by intercultivation or hand weeding. So instead of going for that kind of a practice, if you use any one of any more than 2 practices in the field. So you can achieve the sustainability. And the traditional way of hand weeding and bullock, they are going to cast more, and then instead of going for line sowing, intercultural tools, and then herbicides, mulching, or drones for spraying, will have a less cost for weed management. So this is a thing previous speaker was telling. We have so many integrated weed management in different millets. It's in pearl millet. We have many of this kind, like one herbicide and then followed by one hand weeding, or followed by one hand weeding twice at 20 and 40 days, like that. It's in pearl millet, similarly in kodo millet and in barnyard millet. And the management of striga. Striga, you all know about, it's a parasitic weed. It's more suited, in the sense, suitable for crop rotation. So instead of growing crops like maize, jowar, sugarcane, they can grow cotton, groundnut, that is pigeon pea or asgram. So we could notice that striga infestation, it was there in Ranibennur in Karnataka. And then it was suggested to go for cotton, groundnut, and asgram. And also with the combined practices like the treatment of row planting, mineral fertilizer, and 2,4-D resulted in a 40% increase in grain output with this striga infestation. So using integrated weed control and crop management strategies can increase sorghum productivity while suppressing striga. And also DASR also reported that minimum or zero tillage effectively reduce the infestation of striga. So this striga infestation was reduced actually, according to him, if you sow the crop very late. So due to late planting of sorghum. So date of sowing, and then zero tillage, and then using different combination of planting, row planting, mineral fertilizer, and herbicide together also can suppress this striga parasitic weed in sorghum. And also we had the integrated weed management in sorghum. These are the integrated management, like one herbicide followed by one manual weeding, or one intercultural operations or intercultivation, or by planting sorghum crop at higher densities. So increasing densities, and also the better way of minimizing the weeds, number of weeds in the field. So maintaining population, optimum population is also one of the tools one can practice. And coming to the biological method of weed control, so we don't have any of these biological herbicides commercially available in India. Actually, by Polaris or Bactra Vatuna, and then Simpronex umbrinicus, and then Asbescular mycorrhiza fungicide. This, I think, in Dharwad, one of our colleagues is actually trying this consortia for striga. And similarly, biotechnology, Kansas State University had developed a grain sorghum line resistant to ALS inhibiting herbicides like Steadfast, Ascent, Rizal, and Ale by transferring a resistance gene from wild sorghum. This is a biotechnological work. And also foxtail millet, CRISPR, that is, I was actually from the previous speaker, he was telling that in foxtail millet lines resistant to atrazine was developed through intraspecific hybridization, that is between Ceteria viridis and the Ceteria italica. It was also reported that the atrazine-resistant line produced a yield comparable to that of high-yielding varieties. So apart from that, that is allelopathic weed management is also there for millets, that is sorghum. So an allelochemical exuded from the root ace of sorghum was also phytotoxic to broad-leaved weeds. The grasses at just concentration as low as like 10 micromoles. So this was the major, and then this is also is not commercially available in India. Then water extract of foxtail millet leaves and stems had significant allelopathic effects on Amaranthus vitriflexus and then Chenopodium album and then Ceteria viridis. And then what are the smart best practices available to the millets? So one has to follow integrated weed management, that preventive or cultural or mechanical or chemical. And then first 15 to 42 days are critical. So it should the field should kept weed free. And then promoting sustainable and eco-friendly methods like mulching, intercropping, and minimal herbicides, and also promoting low-cost tools for smallholder millet farmers, and then use of smart tech, especially for spraying for drones for efficient, cost-effective control. And also we can draw the inspiration from successful cases like Karnataka's millet revival. I'll be telling in 2 minutes. And then always apply herbicides in rotation, not as standalone solution. And also we can hire these small tools for weed management. So there should be some customized farm management center. And start.
Ma'am, can you help me?
Yeah.
Because it's video and it's going.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'll come to the end actually. The finger millet and then different smart wheat management millets like crop wise. This is a pearl millet, and then for the finger millet, only thing we have to add one like cultural practices and then the hand weeding or wheel weeder or else herbicides. So and little millet and then for barnyard millet. These are the smart way of practicing weed management in millets. And these are the smart innovative approaches. The golden rule is keep millet space weed free for the first 15 to 42 days. That ensures better tillering, higher grain and less competition later. And in organic management practices for all seasons for different crops, like different millets, foxtail millet, barnyard millet, then frozen millet. And these are the takeaway messages. So two timely weedings like 20 and 40 cover most millet systems, and then stale seedbed plus mulch plus intercropping. So that gives the organic weed management. Then season also matters. So during Kharif needs more vigilance. Summer needs water-based stale seedbed. And then crop matter like short duration millets, and they need faster, earlier weed control. So crop weed, in the sense critical period of crop weed competition is very, very crucial to manage. That is 15 to 42 days. And then this is the thing one has to practice. And this is the millet success stories from Karnataka. So small grains, big impact. This is from our university. They have conducted the experiment in finger millet and pigeon pea to standardize the operating procedures wherein they have used urea and then potassium 1% nitrate and fungicides, nutrient plus, and then pulse magic. Also they have sprayed. So we can use these drones for millets also. And another success story from Karnataka is that I was telling that and research needs opportunities. So survey of herbicide resistant weeds, and then molecular or physiological characterization of resistant weed populations and changing cropping systems, and the smart weed management practices for successful management of herbicide resistance weed population need to be developed for crops. And if somebody wants to have a ready mix, or actually ready mix or from the manufacturer itself, if they want to have the tank mix, they can use this kind of a chart, that is a compatibility chart. And this is about smart weed management in millets. Thanks to this time, I want to acknowledge all my staff, students, and then field staff also, and also special thanks to Dr. Edi Shankar from Physiology Department. Thank you. So we succeed when farmers succeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening lecture. Now I request the participant, if you have any question, you can raise your hand so we can ask from our expert. Okay, Kunal, he has asked, ma'am, what is the stem seedbed method used in weed management?
Yeah, stream seedbed method is the method wherein we irrigate the field before sowing to allow that field to germinate, in the sense weeds to germinate, and then again taking light flowing, or we can remove that. That is the stale seedbed method. So we keep irrigating and then remove whatever it germinates from the field.
Okay. One more question we will take. Here, Doga Sri Lata, she has asked, what is the cost difference between the chemical and non-chemical weed management practices, and moreover in the minor millet yield potential, as if yield potential is low?
Yeah, yield potential it was low initially, but now actually all these years farmers were not using the fertilizers. Nowadays they started using fertilizers and the yield potential has increased now. Actually, it is I was showing you that different yield productivity and then production. So it's increased. So we can minimize the cost with that production.
Okay, so I
It's a
think so,
problem.
ma'am. Now no more questions are there. So, ma'am, on the behalf of society and the DWR, I am very much thankful for your nice and covering all the minutes in very small time, and from the weed management, nutrition important and everything. So, ma'am, again, I am very much thankful for your nice presentation.
Thank you. Thanks.